Hi, how are you? Nice to see you. My name is Mylène. I am a French Canadian. I live just outside of our capital, Ottawa. I'm about a 45-minute drive. And I do that drive often because there's no yarn shop where I live. I am a knitter, but I also crochet and spin, and sometimes I weave, but not often. I also wish I took more time to spin because I really enjoy it, but I'm one of those kind of, I don't know if I'm compulsive, but when I sit to spin, I want to spin the whole braid or the whole bat or basically the whole bunch of fiber that I have. So it's hard for me to sit and only do a little bit at a time. It's also hard for me to sit and do a lot at a time because I'm not 20 anymore and it kind of hurts my body. I also make my own chapstick. I make my own soap. I love patchouli soap. I love making patchouli soap. I made kombucha. I made a batch of kombucha yesterday, so that was really fun. I cook sometimes. I'm one of those people that never like to cook, but I recently signed up to get those good food boxes. It's like a food, you get a food box. It has all the ingredients, the recipes, everything you need. So I cook now, and it's kind of awesome. I work shift work, so knitting is kind of, it's awesome to be able to knit, to stay awake at night. I work in a communication center. We take calls, dispatch calls, whatever. And sometimes at night, at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's long and you're tired and you really, really want to sleep. But the knitting or crochet, it helps to stay awake. What else? I don't know. I can tell you, I'm going to tell you what I'm wearing. How about that? How about we start with that? I'm not a purple person, although you would never know that today. Not my favorite color at all, but it seems to be kind of the theme. I am wearing my Midas hat. It is it's knit out of String Theory, 80% BFL, 20% nylon. I bought this yarn in New Orleans with my mom when I was there a couple years ago. We were looking to get some kind of theme yarn. That's what I do when I travel. I buy yarn that reminds me of the place that I'm visiting. So this reminded me of New Orleans because Mardi Gras. So I think the Mardi Gras colors are green, yellow, and purple. So I got this for Mardi Gras when I went to, where was I? San Diego years ago. My girlfriend and I did the coast and we started in San Diego. Went to a yarn shop the first day we were there. And I went in and I asked the clerk, do you have any hand-dyed yarn from somebody local? Number one. And number two, pick the color that symbolizes this place for you. So she picked this. It's like a red, orange, yellow. It reminded her of the sunset. So that's what I bought. I also bought some kind of a reddish, really deep red when I was in San Francisco, Golden Gate Bridge, stuff like that. I buy travel yarn. It's like souvenir yarn, right? We all have tons of those. Like if you look through here, I have like a ton of souvenir yarn. So Midas hat, Spring Theory. It's a little bit itchy, the BFL. I'm not gonna lie, but I kind of dig this hat. So I wear it a lot. This next thing that I'm wearing is the Sweet November shawl, and it is a pattern by Carly Pierre. Do you remember the Sweet November movie with Charlize Theron? It came out, I don't know, feels like 100 years ago when I was a lot younger. I always liked the shawl that she had on, so I made this out of my hand-dyed yarn. It's kind of nice. I've been wearing it a ton because it's a great go-to piece, and it's one of, how you always wear the thing you just finished. Anyways, I recently wove in my tail. Honestly, I wore it for like 3 weeks before I wove in the tail. But you can't tell because of all this fringe, right? So, hand-dyed yarn, Sweet November. Love it. And the third thing I'm wearing on my body is my Rosemont cardigan. It's knit out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes tweed. I think the color is Indigo Heather. And check out my pigtails. This is what I do when I don't feel like washing my hair. Does anybody else do that? Stick on a hat, do some pigtails. There you go. Anyway, back to the sweater. I've been knitting sweaters too big lately. I don't know what's up with that. Maybe I think I'm bigger than I am. I'm not really sure. But anyways, I love the tweed. I've been wearing it a ton. It's not pilling too much. But I literally wear this sweater a ton. It's a great like throw on piece. It's always hanging over, you know, a dining room chair. And I just pick it up when I'm cold. But this is kind of how I hang out at home these days because it's April 9th. I think it's April 9th or the 8th. It's one of those. I'm off today. My brain is not engaged fully. It's close to mid-April 2019. And I'm looking outside right now and it's snowing. I really want to wear my flip-flops. Come on, people. Where's the summer? It's literally spring, but it's snowing. I went out this morning and there was ice rain. The roads were horrible. Well, I guess that's what it's like to be Canadian. So, moving on to my works in progress. I think the first one I'm going to show you is the blueberry waffle socks. I'm really late to this party. A gazillion people have made these socks already. They've probably been out for, I don't know, 10 years at least. Around when I discovered Ravelry. In 2010, I discovered Ravelry. This blew my mind. Total time sucker, right, people? When you first discovered Ravelry, how much time did you spend looking up patterns? It's kind of opened up this whole new world. Blueberry waffle socks. Hand-dyed yarn. I think I dyed this yarn last year. And I've been hanging on to it all this time because I really wanted to make these socks. And these socks are part of my 2019 Make 9. So is this hat. I'll tell you the story of the hat in a second. So blueberry waffle socks. I make them 2 at a time because I very rarely follow patterns. I use, you know, like the stitch pattern, but I always use my stitch count, my size needles, kind of work my own heel, depending how I'm feeling that day. But yeah, so 2.25 Chow. Love these needles. I used to use the Knit Picks interchangeable. Those were like a great starter set. And then I discovered the Chow needles. Like hooked a little bit. I splurged and bought a whole set. And I love them for Magic Loop because the cables are really great. The Knit Picks needles were really awesome too for Magic Loop. So the story about this hat, I love to travel. So this year I went on a mission trip to Uganda. I'm like, if I'm going to fly over the ocean, I might as well go visit some other places. I did the same thing last year. I went to Uganda, but I did Amsterdam before. So I went to Stephen and Penelope and I dropped like a ton of money there. It was awful. I had to ship my yarn home because I didn't have room in my luggage. Because I pack in a carry-on for 2 climates. So Europe and Uganda. Did the same thing this year. Didn't buy a skein of yarn this year. Anyways, back to the story. Going to Africa, it's hot there in Uganda, and then Europe between, you know, -5 and +5. So I knew I needed, you know, outerwear. So hat, cowl, scarf, mittens, and space in the luggage limited. But I also always knit when I'm flying or just traveling in general, train, car, van. So what I decided to do was go through my stash and I picked out this yarn to make a hat. I was going to knit it while I was in transit, so that at the end I would have a hat for Europe. Did the same thing with the cowl. I can't remember if I brought mittens. I know I didn't knit mittens on this trip, but I literally finished the hat at the airport because we had flight cancellations. It was ridiculous this year, the flight cancellations. Canada, we have a lot of snow and sometimes our planes get canceled. Anyways, so I finished this hat in the airport, waiting for our very first flight. We were in Montreal. And then I cast on my cowl, which I finished before we got to Europe, wove in my ends literally when we got to Europe. And then I was cozy while I was there. So it was like the perfect plan. I needed some accessories. I knit the accessories on the way there so I would have something to do. Perfect, right? I thought it was kind of awesome. Very clever. Made me feel really smart that I thought of that. The next thing I'm working on is the granny stripe blanket. I think everybody's addicted to one of these, right? Check it out. Isn't it amazing? It's so ugly that it's awesome. And I have so many sock yarn leftovers. And I did a mini swap at Christmas time with some of my friends. I'm addicted. It's great for work too. I just bring it, work on it, you drop it, answer the phone, go back to it anytime you want. And I really like the, you know, you make these magic cakes and you just can't wait to get to the next color all the time. It's so fun. I'm addicted, honestly. I'm trying not to put too much thought into it. I just want it to be this super random blanket that I love. And it's in my Finch bucket that I made. This is one of Stitch Mischief. Jade designed this Finch bucket pattern and I made a giant one, and I even have my little Mimimustknit labels on there. I love this bag. It's giant, as you can see. I love it. That's my blanket bag. The next project I have on the go, it's stuck in my ball winder, is not even mine. It's the Tegna fur. I'm making it for my friend Angie. She started making this sweater last year after we went to the Prince Edward County Fiber Festival in Picton, Ontario. She ended up buying 3 skeins of this yarn indulgence. It's a merino cashmere nylon blend and it's really lovely. And she splurged and bought 3 skeins of this really beautiful, luscious stuff. And then she started working on the lace portion. I think this was her first lace project. She started knitting when we started working together because I was always knitting. She's like, teach me how to do that. Her first thing she ever made was a pair of socks. Imagine that. Talk about overachiever, right? Anyways, lace is not her favorite. So I told her I would do the lace portion for her. She was getting kind of frustrated when she knit it. Every time she'd make a mistake, she'd just get frustrated. So we just ripped it back. And then she finally gave it to me so I could start it for her. I did have to rework all the numbers because the yarn is lace. And she had a swatch in her bag and notes that I made on her pattern that I kind of didn't really trust because they were almost a year old. So I redid a gauge swatch. I reworked the numbers because it's lace yarn again. So I redid the numbers. And 500 stitches I cast on. It worked 5 rounds and then realized I had twisted the work when I joined it. What a bummer. But hey, it happens. I ripped it out, started over, and now it's definitely not twisted. I must have checked it 100 times. Not twisted anymore. So she's on a trip right now. I think she's Scotland, Ireland, and England. She'll be back in a couple of weeks. Actually, mid next week she'll be back. I was kind of hoping I'd have the lace done by the time she got home. But I don't know. It's not really likely. guys set knitting goals? I did this year. I did the Make 9 last year, 2018. And the only thing I didn't finish was my Dotted Rays shawl by Stephen West. I had used this gray, this yellow, which is, oh, I can't remember the dyer. Anyways, this one, these, and then there's kind of a green ball right there, and then a really bright green. These have been sitting on my shelf forever, and I thought they looked really awesome together until I put them in a shawl. And then they just like barf. They were horrible. So I ripped it all out, but that's the only thing I didn't finish for last year for my Make 9. So this year, between Christmas and New Year, I took out all my stash. All this. There's like, this is a 25 cubby unit. And aside from a couple of shelves that have books on them, it's all yarn. And then I have 4 Rubbermaid bins of yarn that I want to destash. Anyways, back to the point. I laid everything out and I found 9 projects to make for 2019, all out of stash. Some of them I had patterns for, some of them I didn't. But that's my goal this year, is not to buy yarn, because obviously I have enough. And all these project bags here are full of yarn and patterns. So I have one on that side and one on that side. They're all full of yarn and patterns. And all my Make 9 stuff is in there already. So I have 2 things that are already finished for my Make 9. I finished my Turtledove Sweater. That's an Espace Tricot sweater. I modified it a bit because, again, I cast it on and I made it just giant. It was way too big. So I ripped it all out and started over and made the smallest size. But I used this brown color. It's almost like the girl in the shop described it as kind of one of those black forest cakes. It's brown, but a little bit of something in there. It's brown, but it's got kind of a red, it's got a red tint to it. I don't know, you can't see it over here. But anyways, I recently finished it. It's upstairs. I wore it the other day. It's all tucked away in the closet. But because I made such a too big size the first time, I ended up having a ton of yarn left. But some of it I used already, so I can't even bring it back to the store. Because it's not cheap yarn. It's lovely. But I literally have enough to make probably a couple hats, which I'll do for next year. The thing I'm going to start next is probably a no-frills sweater. And I decided, because I have a lot of blank yarn, because I like to dye my own yarn when I can, I figured I could save a few bucks and use some hand-dyed yarn for the sweater. And, sorry, kind of came out this weird kind of avocado green. You see this yellow, there's a little yellow spot there. I'm not a huge fan, so I was trying to find something darker to go with this, to kind of tone it down a little bit, and then I found this teal. I couldn't find a really good green in the Shibui Silk Cloud, which is literally like a silk cloud. It's so awesome. So I put these 2 together, and I knit my swatch, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. Check it out. It's kind of camo. What do you think? Is it my color? Does it look good with my eyes? How about a yarn beard? Here we go. I think I like it. It definitely tones down the yellowy bits, but it looks a little bit camo, and I'm not really sure how I feel about a camo sweater. But I guess all I can do is knit it, and if I don't like it, I can give it to my sister. I think the reason I've been knitting sweaters that are too big is because I knit a couple of sweaters that were too small. My sister's a lot smaller than me, so she's been getting them. But they're beautiful colorwork sweaters, and I was so bummed that that they didn't fit me. I mean, they fit, but they didn't fit the way they were supposed to, we'll say. So It feels heavenly though. This swatch, ooh, so amazing. So that's gonna be next on my needles, I think. The last thing I finished after my Turtledove sweater was this shawl. It's just an asymmetrical, I love really big, not deep shawls. Like I'm not a big triangle shawl fan. Well, this would be the exception, this one here. But I mean, it scrunches up really nice because this is how I wear most of my shawls anyways. So this is one of these, it's Wrap It Up. Oh no, I have a little yarny accident here. Ooh, we'll just put those there. Oh, there we go. So Red Heart has these cakes. I know you can see there's like a darker, there's 3 colors. So I had this one, but it's got like a cajillion yards in it. How many yards are in here? Oh yeah, look at this. 1,100 yards. That's a lot of yarn. And it's lace. I was gonna make a pie shawl and I started it, but wasn't in love with it. So I decided I was gonna double the yarn, just gonna hold it double. So I separated all the colors. I made a cake of each color and then I just worked from the inside and the outside of the cake. So I did the gray and then the darker. Then when I got to the black, I noticed that I had this little nugget of this pink. I have this bowl that sits on my coffee table and it holds a bunch of stuff. I've got, I think my backup drive is in there. I've got paper clips, pens and highlighters and post-it notes, chapstick, hand balm, and yarn nuggets. I stick little nuggets of yarn in there all the time. So this was sitting in there. So I just threw it in just to break up the monochrome. I kind of like it. It's really floppy, so it's kind of nice. It's cotton yarn, cotton and acrylic. So it's kind of heavy and drapey. So I like it. I'm not a really huge cotton fan, but I kind of like this. And I think this stuff is available at Michael's. I got it from Yarn Canada. They sent it to me to do a yarn review. So this is a little nugget of hand-dyed yarn. I was experimenting with teal a couple years ago. I'll just stick that in there. The next thing I wanted to show you is a hat that I designed. The original I actually gave as a gift. There's a story behind this design. My massage therapist fell in love with a purse that I brought home from Africa last year. I found some fabric in the market, in Kumi, and I had the girls at the home. So we go there and we go to an orphanage. Anyway, it's a long story. If you have any questions, just ask me and I'll send you a link or something. But the girls at the home, they have like a sewing program. So I had this fabric and I asked them to make me this purse. And the fabric was kind of a cream color, black, orange, and teal. So Diane, my massage therapist, she's amazing, by the way, really liked my purse, but I didn't want to give it to her because I really like it too. So I ended up designing this Colorwork hat in the colors of my purse for her and gave it to her as a gift. And then I knit, that's my color join. Here's a nicer side. So I knit it in some different colors. This is a color palette that was inspired by a picture of a Jennifer Steingass sweater that my girlfriend Michelle sent me. And I was like, oh my God, I need to put these colors together. So I did. And then monochromatic again, but then I stuck this kind of raspberry color in there. And I kind of like it. And then I made kind of a more masculine color palette. My girlfriend would be mortified because this probably reminds her of the late 70s, early 80s, you know, grandma's Afghan the colors. Orange, kind of yellowy orange and brown together. Ugh. For a long time I was mortified about those colors too, but they're growing on me. Ever since I watched Breaking Bad, you know that giant Afghan they have on the back of the couch? I love that Afghan. I'm probably going to make one someday out of acrylic yarn. Because it has to be acrylic, right? Because that's what was available in the 70s. I'm dating myself, aren't I? Yes. Okay, so next pattern is this hat that I knit up for my friend Nicola. I went to visit her in PEI, and she has a house there that she usually rents out. But we're kind of like new friends, right? So I'm not going to take advantage. I was going to rent a room from her. But she said, no, I just, kind of want the company. So come on down and we'll hang out for a whole week in PEI. I love PEI. I love the lighthouses and it's just beautiful. So I said, I will knit you anything you want. So she sent me a picture of a hat. And it was like this gray, fuzzy yarn. So I kind of designed this one for her. I gave her her original. And then I made one for me. So this is wool. It's made of Woolfolk fur. Oh, these hats are made out of the Drops Charisma. They have a ton of colors. And it's very affordable. So I have literally like a whole bag of different colors. So I might end up making more. But this one, Woolfolk fur, that I got at Espace Tricot in Montreal, with some Shibui Silk Cloud. Again, I'm addicted to this stuff. I know it's costly, but I can't help myself. So it's Shibui Silk Cloud. Pretty much in the same color, so you can't really see it. The different strands, but see that halo? Isn't it awesome? I love it. So those two patterns, they're written up. My girlfriend Nancy took some photos. Now I just have to put the photos in the patterns and publish the patterns. So that's about it. I think that's it for me for today. Yeah. I'm gonna go work on my socks, watch some podcasts. Because I'm off today and it's lovely. But it's snowing, so I don't really want to go anywhere. Yeah, it's almost mid-April and it's snowing. I don't dig it. Anyways, it was nice to hang out. I hope you had a good time. Go make something. I'm gonna. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.